Well, it is that time again, everybody. Hope you are doing well. My name is BirdDog John, and I am back in action.
In those scenarios, it's good to neuralize the cameras. You guys know that best.
Very straightforward. Plug it in, go to the web UI, link the source, walk away. You know, like super simple. I keep looking over at the chat, and I keep seeing you are full of it. Tasty, spicy meat snacks. Covered in flavor. I mean, you can't go wrong. So what's going on? We've got a handful of folks here in the chat, and I really appreciate that. What's up, mate? Hey, Warren, how are you? Appreciate it. Hey, Robbie, how's it going, man? You're just talking about you. What's going on, Tom? Ahoy. How is it going? What's going on, Go Web? Good to see you again. Thanks for hanging out with us again today. Appreciate that. I feel like I'm in this video more than anyone but John. It's true, NetApp. You are, I'm going to cut this up and put this in the next intro. Well, folks, here we go. Hopefully you are indeed doing well. My name is BirdDog John, and I am back for another at least an hour of riveting NDI content. And so I'm going to turn my playlist on, and we're going to go with it from there. But hopefully you're doing well. Thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate it. And like the title suggests and the video that you just watched, today's topic is Fleet Manager. So we're pretty excited to go through that with you. And we're going to do that around 11:15, which is about in 10 minutes. We'll start down that road. Be sure that you put your questions in the chat that you have about that program. That's something that we announced at NAB, and last week we talked about the X120, which I also have a video for if that's something we want to do, or if I need to go get coffee or something. But the X120 was last week. Be sure to check that video out if you haven't already. And then this week we're going to just kind of go over Fleet Manager. Honestly, there's a fair bit about it that is self-explanatory, and so I won't necessarily need to go over everything, but I do want you to see it actually functioning and working, and it is a real thing, and it is coming up fairly quick. So because it was announced at NAB, the promise with those announcements was that they'll be ready within 6 weeks, a month and a half from the announcement. So X120 was announced, Fleet Manager was announced. So we want to definitely go over that, get you excited about what those options are that are coming up in the future here with BirdDog products. And honestly, this thing, last week I talked about how excited I was about the Fleet Manager program. And again, I'll go over this in a little bit, but I as a support guy and as somebody who's watched the company grow for quite a while, I'm very excited about what it is that we're doing and the way that we're thinking about our products and managing our products and all that sort of thing. So there's lots to talk about. Lots of philosophy that we can go over if you'd like. But for the most part, I definitely want to show you Fleet Manager, get you excited about it, because it is an answer to a request that we have had from a lot of people over the ages. And it's a very simple way to manage any amount of BirdDog products, to be honest with you. If you're interested in managing those and not needing to go to every single web UI, Fleet Manager is that answer. So we're really excited about that. I'm really excited about that. I know the company is too. My support team is excited about Fleet Manager because it answers a lot of questions, but it helps people basically take the next step in providing support for their own BirdDog fleet and not necessarily always having to reach out to BirdDog on here, on ticketing system, on Facebook or whatever to help figure out what's going on. So it's pretty exciting. And we're excited that you're here to hang out with us. So Sound Color, what's going on? Hi from Leon Gatho. This is over in Victoria. For those of you who are not familiar with that area, nice area. Let's Leon Gatha, Victoria. I'm assuming that's where you're contacting us from. So we can just throw this open in Google Maps. Now it's going to be, let's see, you're southeast of Melbourne. Is that right? That's hopefully that's accurate. Why you're still awake at this hour, I do not know. But bravo for joining us that late. Here we go. Looks like a beautiful, nice area. Those of you in Detroit will understand that reference. But here we are. This is the region in which is being referenced. And some nice photos here. Let's check this out. So this is in remembrance is what the building says. Here's the post office. If you need to send a telegraph, apparently that's still a thing. Probably not. But yeah, that's pretty nice. Thanks for joining us from all the way over there. Sound Color, appreciate that. That's always nice to have folks who are from other parts of the world. Exciting new camera. I would agree. The X120 is pretty exciting stuff. Well, it will open a market that BirdDog hasn't necessarily had access to, but it will bring the level of it'll bring a BirdDog level of performance to that market. And so pretty excited about that. You know, I'm definitely biased to the company that I work for. I think we make the best products in the market. I think that they look the nicest. I think that they're, in terms of functionality, they work really well. There's a lot of bells and whistles that are offered, and sometimes that's great, and sometimes that's maybe a little overwhelming. But you have to pick your poison and kind of go with it, right? So we offer a diverse fleet, and the X120 is kind of that addition that there's a missing market there. There's a missing level of excellence in that market. There are a lot of HX cameras on the market, and a lot of them do camera stuff just fine, but none of them do what the BirdDog fleet can do. And so I'm really excited that X120 is announced and is coming to a distributor near you, because yeah, that'll be great. No one hears but us chickens. What's going on, NAB? How's it going? Thank you for coming on back. Appreciate that. Greetings from the Netherlands. Greetings, Facebook user. Let's jump over to Facebook and actually use your first name, because that would be the polite thing to do, right? Find out who that is. So is it Core? K-O-R? How's it going? Thanks for stopping by the show. I really appreciate that. And Laura, good morning from Canada. Good morning, Laura. How are you? Hopefully you're doing well. Always a pleasure. Laura asks, we just got a grant to add more bird dogs that we will be at, and we'll be at 12 soon. I noticed with the P240, we have on a wide shot, there is a edge where it goes out of focus for a second if there's only one person on the stage. Is there something I can do to make that do it less? I love the cameras, though. It looks amazing. So the P240 going out of focus on a wide shot, well, more than like, Fleet Manager. Yes, Laura, it's exciting stuff. So here's the thing about cameras is when they're running in autofocus, they basically have to make a calculated estimation as to what it is that you want them to focus on, right? So you do a wide shot, you have somebody on stage. It doesn't really know that. I mean, it does, but it doesn't really know that the person or the thing on stage is necessarily the one thing that you want in focus. So if you're finding that it's hunting a little bit, there may be too much in the frame for it to really lock in. One way that you could counter this is to set that wide shot on a predetermined focal length in manual, but then set your regular shots in autofocus. And so you could switch between the two by saving the camera settings on the preset when you go to that wide shot, and that would set it to a manual focus, and it should hold that spot, because manual obviously means that it's not going to autofocus on you. So that's from a workflow production standpoint, that is probably what I'd recommend. I would assume that's where I would go. First of all, it's like, okay, maybe we can set the focal length manually for this one shot that seems to not really know exactly where to dial it in. But then for the other shots, I want to use autofocus. And so there's also, by the way, an API command if you want to use an X keys or a Stream Deck or something like that, that you could turn autofocus on and off. And so you get it back, you get it to where you want, you turn autofocus off, and then it stays at that, and the autofocus doesn't change regardless of what happens in the scene. But then when you start moving the camera or using the joystick or whatever it is that you're doing to control it, you call the next preset, you can turn autofocus back on, and then you have that option to adjust it as needed based on the type of shot. PTZs are so funny in production environments because there's two camps. Well, there's more than two camps, but there's two camps that I find quite often when talking with clients. The first is this camp where the camera should be able to basically do anything and everything in full auto. So it doesn't matter what's going on set, doesn't matter what color the stage is, doesn't matter what at what focal length or whatever. It should be able to handle all of that. And I would say that there are ways of doing that, but you have to trade one of two items. First of all, you'd have to trade the focal length, okay? So the zoom function of the camera to keep it consistent when it comes to like exposure and that sort of stuff, so you're not getting weird colors constantly changing. Because auto exposure tries to figure out what's going on in the frame. For a record here, all of these cameras that are running in my studio, none of them are in full auto anything. They're all manual. But I do that because my studio doesn't really change. I don't want the shots to change. I want to sit down. I don't want it to hunt for focus. I don't want any of that. I want it to be the same every single time. But I don't zoom, right? Like I'm not zooming around. And if you're using one camera in an auditorium and you need a wide shot and you need a close shot, then that camera is going to have to compromise in another way, because you're going to be adding lumens or eliminating lumens. And same thing goes with the autofocus, is like when you get to a certain point on the camera is going to have a ton of stuff that it's looking at in the frame. You go to a wide shot, there's a lot of things that it could focus on. Well, you may need to tell it specifically, no, I need you to set at this focal length for this wide shot. But then everything else that's close up, if you're doing bust shots or you're doing over the shoulders or whatever it is that you're doing with those camera shots, you want to let that all run in autofocus, because for the most part, it's just the one person in the frame, and that won't be an issue. You have this problem, for example, in multiple facets. First of all, you have two people standing on stage at different levels. So on this camera, this is a bad example because you can't really tell. But if you were to have them stagger and then you zoom in, one of those subjects will be really crystal clear and one of them won't. And there's a good chance the camera is going to toggle between the two because it doesn't know who to pick. You see this pretty prevalently when we talk about auto tracking. You can really only have one person in the frame when you're using cam control auto tracking, because if you get two people who are standing next to each other, the auto track, it sees two faces and it tries to make a decision as to who the priority is. And so doing automatic auto tracking is challenging from a programming side. Same thing goes here with the autofocus business, right? It just doesn't know what to focus on. And so if you're doing a complex wide shot, you may have to set it as manual. Okay, that was a rabbit hole I'm not too sure you were ready to go down, Laura. Sorry about that. Hi again from Aberdeen. Hey, how's it going, Ian? Hopefully you're doing well. Angus, another Canadian. How's it going? Good morning. Hopefully you're doing well. Yes, I can do that on my Stream Deck. Thanks. Oh, you are very welcome. It gives you, if at the very least, it gives you the flexibility to turn it off and back on again if needed, right? So, great. Good. I already do that with my exposure, so that's a great tip. It never occurred to me because your autofocus is so amazing. Look, for most scenarios, we don't have a bunch of tickets in about autofocus hunting or doing whatever, but there are certain installations where the scene is complex or something, and you're probably going to need to make manual adjustments with the autofocus or with the manual focus, to make that happen. And so, yeah, it's always good to have the option, and then you can play around with it and see if it works with your workflow. There's also a huge conversation there about your workflow, because everybody does something a little bit differently when it comes to actually how it is that we produce things. So I'm running a single show by myself. There's nobody else in here to produce it. And so if I need to cut between cameras, I can call those myself, or I can have vMix run a playlist or something like that. Same thing with the focus. If it's out of focus, I need to manually adjust it. And so whether I set that up as a button or whether I have an autofocus toggle, on off, those are all kind of options out there in the wild. So check the API. There may be a pretty simple solution to a problem that could be complex, I wish that there was a way to recall a certain focal length manually. There might be, but let me think that through. I'll have to do some research for you. Hello from KC. The X120 marketing page mentions an Xbox controller as a control method. Is that referring to any sort of native integration, or is it just an option for gamepads via e.g. vMix? So this goes back to a long time ago thing where you can buy, I actually have one, you can buy an an Xbox USB controller, or Logitech makes one that has like Xbox commands and direct commands. And it's a USB controller that you plug into your system. If you open Studio Monitor, and inside Studio Monitor, you plug in the USB, open Studio Monitor. Inside there is a controller option, and you can select the USB interface as your controller, and then you can use the joystick to steer the camera. Now, this has been something that's been done for a long time. It is not a perfect method, and I don't know any company that goes on record saying that this is the preferred method of controlling cameras. It is an option. It's kind of like, that's out there too. You know, you can do that, but you're kind of at the mercy of the programming, but also at the extent of kind of how much they've invested in that. So the movement commands are programmed. The actual PTZ movement commands are programmed, but I don't really know about much else. I have a friend who has been with us since basically my beginning of my employment, who opened a ticket long ago, back in the Fresh Desk days, and he said that he was doing P200s and, you know, Xbox controllers with Studio Monitor. That's how they run these gigs. I think it was like volleyball tournaments or something like that. Anyways, he's been doing this for ages, and he's been running 3.3, and that's how he runs his show, and how he, you know, they just control it like that. Well, he has found anomalies in the way that controller works, and has reported those as bugs to BirdDog. Again, I appreciate that. I think that's a great alternative, and quite honestly, the controller that I have from Logitech is like $30. So if you're just needing up, down, left, right zoom, that's a great low cost, you know, budget option. But I wouldn't necessarily call it a genuine joystick. I mean, you have to have the camera open in Studio Monitor with that controller selected for that. If you're just run and gun one camera, yeah, okay, that's fine. Or you have a static shot and then you have a close-up shot. All good. I cannot promise you that there are BirdDog resources that are being put behind that for R&D and development, but it is out there. And I could even show it to you. Maybe I'll bring that on Thursday. I can even show you how that works. It's not rocket science at all, but we could definitely show it for you. How's it going, Casey? Hopefully you're doing well. Hey, good morning, John. What's going on, MTash? Here's an example of 2 plays from our baseball stream yesterday that show PTZs and presets used in live replays. Okay, and there's a drive function there, so I'll have to go over to Twitch to get that. I will open that file, but I won't do it just yet. Oh, cool. Ooh. Harvard Westlake. I'll check that out in a minute. The one-push autofocus button on the keyboard is really handy. You can get it can get you close and then make fine adjustments with the knob. That's a great tip. Angus is always full of helpful information, by the way. That's why we keep him around. No. He pays his price of admission just like everybody else. Hello. Are the P400s good for low light situations? I would say yes, but don't take my word for it. You have to borrow one and find out, I guess. That statement, I appreciate it, by the way, but that statement's pretty subjective, because what I think is good, you may not think is good. The bigger the sensor, the better it is in low light. And so the 400 is a half-inch sensor. No, yeah, it's a half-inch sensor, while the P4K is a full 1-inch sensor. And so the more light, obviously, it can operate in lower light situations, the bigger the sensor is. So I would say yes, but it's kind of up to you. Like we could even generate, for example, examples of the 400 operating in low light situations. But there's a lot of questions that you should ask about that. The first being, well, how many lumens, and what are we talking about here? What's the technical data? Instead of just, looks good, because what you think looks good may not be what I think looks good. I think, for example, the coloration on my show looks great. Some people don't like it because it has crushed blacks, and it's like, well, subjective, right? It's like what I think is good is the end result that I'm producing is what I want to produce, whereas some people prefer it different, or they prefer it to have more raw look, or they prefer it to not be quite as contrasty, or there's dozens, or they want more color, or they want something. So there's all sorts of options, and really comes down to whether or not you find it acceptable. So I would say yes, just from the surface standpoint. BirdDog Fleet is generally pretty good in low light. It's not that you can turn off all the lights and see in the dark. That's not what we're doing. What's your definition of low light as well, right? Because that's, again, also something about that. So great idea. The Fleet Manager saves a lot of time, I think. We will be talking about Fleet Manager momentarily, so hang tight. All the cams are P200s, BirdDog keyboards, Stream Deck, and Companion, and lots of prayers. Yep. When you put a system together, then there is kind of like all right, here's a moment, that everything's got to work. That happens here all the time. Sometimes I walk in and things are malfunctioning and we got to swap out cameras. But yeah, that makes sense. Hey, what's going on, Casey? The sport thing, volleyball, is interesting. Similar use case. We record, I assume that's equestrian events, with a single camera. Very dynamic, variable speed shoots. Very cool. Yeah. That's it's a similar idea. And again, if you just need control, then that's a quick way to do it. Now, as we update firmwares, I will throw out there that I don't think that plugging in a Xbox controller is one of the things on the list. I think it's kind of an afterthought. But I do have a Logitech one here that, again, I can show you on Thursday how that works with any of these cameras. That might be a good use case scenario. So let's plan to do that. I'll write that down so that I don't forget, because I always forget if I don't write it down. So Xbox control for studio monitor. Check. Got it. Hey, I'm watching from Zimbabwe. Wow, what's going on? That's a long way away, Henry. It's new to me and really interesting to try it out. Excellent. Well, you've come to the right place. We got all sorts of folks that are new to the NDI world, so you're in good company. And thank you so much for checking in all the way down there in Zimbabwe. That's so cool. Really appreciate that. Pie in the Sky camera control solution is compact, relatively cheap, gamepad, hence gamepad interest. Whoa. And a complete package, BirdDog PTZ interest, and has smooth speed ramping from a standstill to 50%. I'm not too sure about the ramping bit. Let's find out on Thursday. I will, if you can't join me on Thursday, I'll still try and run that test for you live. We'll just find out together. But let's do that for sure. I totally get our use case is a niche thing. Just saw the controller bit on the marketing website, and it piqued my interest. Thanks for your insight. Of course, my pleasure. Always willing to give an opinion. No, I know lots of guys. Well, I don't know lots of guys. I know a handful of guys that are using the direct controller. So if you're looking on Amazon or something like that, look for a USB gamepad controller that does direct. And usually on the back, there's an Xbox button, and then there's a switch that'll send it to direct. And direct is what we recommend people use. That's what I've used here in the office when I've tested this thing for my longtime four-year friend who has been doing this for a long time. Again, the reason why I have a working relationship with him is because it doesn't do everything perfectly, but it's also kind of a $30, a cheap solution to get it done. So there you go. Oops. My internet speed has dropped here. So sorry, everybody. Let me, whoops, cancel. Hopefully it changes in a moment. It's a little strange that I have a weak connection. Where's YouTube here? I'll join YouTube off of my network. We'll see. Subscriptions. I know I'm live. Oh, now the internet's back to full strength. Okay, John. All right, hopefully we didn't lose anybody. Yeah, okay. And I can hear it just fine. You guys are chatting to me, so I'm assuming you can hear me just fine. It may be the weather outside. It is a little frightful. And I don't have a fire in the office, which would be delightful. But since we know place to go, let's talk about Fleet Manager. Yeah, this is what it currently looks like outside here in Auburn Hills. It was like 80 degrees a week ago. And I guess Mother Nature is not happy with us for some reason. So she's giving us some snow today, which is a bummer, but whatever. Let me make sure I'm done in the comment section before we go on too much more. Whoa, you guys are chatting it up. Yep, gamepads with Studio Monitor. I've used them, was never satisfied with the movement. The Studio Monitor base control support the fine speed controller? No. The fine speed control is something that is a BirdDog thing. Looks great. I love baseball, so there's no way I wasn't clicking on that link. It's true. Balu does love himself some baseball. Greetings, John. What's going on, GoWeb? Welcome back. Hopefully you and your daughter, Sanaya, are well. Share some info on the new Wi-Fi camera. That was Thursday's show. So we definitely did that. I want to talk about Fleet Manager, and then I'll go back to the X120 if there is interest. I'll be there. Ramping. When rented a P120, I think that was, the BirdDog joystick jumps from first gear to high gear was noticeable. So there is now a speed variance, like a super fine speed variance that's integrated in the latest firmware for our cameras. So you may need to check that out again now that that's kind of been updated. So did you change all of your cameras to 2997? I think I did. I should have. Yeah, pretty sure I did. Why? Can you notice? Is it blurry now? What's going on, Sean? Welcome back. Good morning. Before you get to Fleet Manager, I'm trying to figure out what firmware I need. I'm looking at the P200 and an A200 Gen 1. Do I need to go to LTS or NDI5? A Gen 1 is going to require you to go to LTS first on an A200. And if you want it to get to the Gen 2 stuff, you'll need to contact support, and we'll need to help you get to Gen 2. So here's a perfect time to reach out to support at help@birddog.tv, and we'll be able to give you a hand with that. But yeah, you probably need to go to LTS first. The P200, well, you probably should go to LTS first and then go on to NDI5, but I don't know if LTS is still up there for P200. I don't know yet. Same, Angus. Have dabbled with that in vMix Studio Monitor and a solution from Rocosoft. Just never got the point where I was shooting for. The A200 doesn't match the current download on the web, but it was a replacement unit from you guys. Super fine. Speed variance, you say. Yes, I do say. So inside of, sorry, I'll back this up here so I don't glaze over anybody. Yeah, so the A200, does it say Gen 1 or Gen 2 on the web UI? That's critical number one. If you want it to get to the new features and color matrix and all that stuff, we need to get you to Gen 2, and that is going to require one of my agents remoting in and helping you do that. There's just a few of those Gen 1 A200s still out there, so we don't spend a ton of time doing that, and my guys are really fast at doing it, so we can set up a time to work with you on that, Sean. Where's the other thing that you had said here? Do I need to go to LTS first, then NDI5, just to be safe, make sure everything comes over? We'll have to give that a look. Something you have any insight on in terms of what it's added or changed or how it works? Yes. So on the old speed variants, you used to go from 1 to 21. Those were the steps, and now it goes from 1 to 255. And so the difference between is much more granular. Let's just put it that way. The difference is far more granular than it was in the past, and it's pretty impressive, actually. I mean, the fact that we've been able to add that many steps, and it's the same for pan, tilt, and then zoom even has additional ramping steps. So I could probably show you that. BirdDog studio p200.local. I want to share this tab. Oh, I didn't even have to log into this. Okay, so here is my P200, and that's that guy up there in the corner over there. But if we go here to cam control, and we go to camera control, it should not be named the same thing. You have standard speed control and superfine. And if you switch it to superfine, it changes it to 255. And now we have the ability to really change the speed pretty substantially. And so you can choose 1 through 21 on standard, which is what it's always been. or super fine, which gives you a lot more, range. So it's pretty great. What does it do to the zoom? Does it do anything? No, zoom. Okay, I misspoke. Zoom is still just 7 steps, but the pan and the tilt, the actual P and T of the camera, is greatly increased. So there you go. Hopefully that's somewhat insightful. Hey, John, I didn't know if you had commented on this question before regarding the new BirdDog Wi-Fi. BirdDog recommends a specific Wi-Fi router for that model. Oh, geez. This is one of those things that... What's going on, Lewis? First of all, thank you for coming back. Always appreciate having you here, man. And great question. So this question has been floating around in my networking mind for quite a while, because ages ago, I was a network admin, and I was a Wi-Fi guy. Like I installed multiple Wi-Fi networks for a couple of institutions and several small businesses and whatever. And that's it's all well and good, except wireless becomes very complex and very difficult. So, and unfortunately, the airspace around us in the Wi-Fi realm is extremely polluted. Okay, which means there are lots of people. Just go to like an apartment complex, just stand outside and then open your phone and search for Wi-Fi. And not only will you find probably dozens of secured Wi-Fi, you're going to find a bunch of non-secured Wi-Fi. And then you're going to find that if you do a spectrum analysis of the Wi-Fi space, you're also going to find that those SSIDs are broadcasting on multiple channels. And it just becomes so noisy. So we're talking about doing video. Now, HX3, mind you, right? So it's not high bandwidth requirement. It's going to be a low bandwidth, high latency, higher latency, HX3 or HX2, depending on what you've got going on in the Wi-Fi realm. I've heard it said, I don't know if this is official or anything like that. I've heard it said that you're pretty much going to want to stick to HX2 if you're on a Wi-Fi realm, mostly because it's 6 megs. And Wi-Fi can handle 6 megs. To compare apples to oranges, Netflix 4K is like 12 or 13 or 15 megs a second, okay? So 6 is doable for most access points these days, especially if you're running an AC or an AX network, which is NDI is Wi-Fi 5 or 6. Those two options can do 6 generally. Whatever. But here's the rub is I don't know how a retailer or a manufacturer or whatever can give you real world data in terms of test results when there are literally hundreds of thousands of Wi-Fi manufacturers in the world. So to say something along the lines of works on Wi-Fi, ooh, that is true. It is a true statement. But you, Lewis, what Wi-Fi router are we specifically talking about? Great question. We're not yet. We're not there yet. I'm hoping that we will be able to recommend a couple. I know that our friends over at Netgear are, there's some murmurs about maybe making a handshake with their stuff because they already do the AV integration stuff so well. But I don't know, and I don't know anything official. It would be amazing to have some friendships, partnerships in the industry who, want to be sure that, look, if you buy this access point, you can do 3 cameras off of it or whatever. I don't know what the magic sauce would be and what the price point would be, honestly, to make it worth your while. But there you go. I really like the way that the camera drives with the joystick. Now, my only issue, you with the issues, no, I'm kidding. My only issue is the speed change after recalling a preset. Until you move the zoom, they go very slowly. So there is a preset recall speed, is there not? If you go to presets and you go to preset, isn't the preset speed there? So that it should recall based on that speed. It doesn't change based on, it shouldn't change, and maybe it does, Angus. Shouldn't change based on what it is that you have selected on the keyboard. It should reference what's saved on the preset, and you would save it here. PTZ only, you get the option to set the preset speed and you hit save. If you're doing camera settings, then that goes away. And maybe that's, and then it remembers these settings right here, right? Because these are the camera settings. So I'd be interested to play around with that a little bit, see how that actually works out, because that's a great observation if that's the case. Nice. That's exactly what we've noticed and run into. We've got enough steps between gears so the jump is too noticeable, i.e. not granular. This looks like it might be what we're after. Well, let me know, by all means. Super insightful. Thanks so much, Casey. My pleasure. Always nice to have somebody that wants to talk about NDI on the show, right? That's what we're up to over here. Did you get confirmation from engineering that it's Wi-Fi 6 or 5? No. So there's no official word on that, but I'm assuming it is actually Wi-Fi 5 because AC will do 2.4 gigs at about 6 or 10 megs if you're doing HX2. I believe that is kind of the assumption that if you're going to do this on Wi-Fi, you're going to run HX2. So Wi-Fi 5 should do it. On paper, it should do it. On paper. I don't have an X120. I can't tell you yay or nay. But on paper, it should do it. Because honestly, if you're streaming this onto your phone, this is more than 6 megs probably. Maybe not. Maybe it's like 4 megs. But it's probably close to what it would be. It's crazy to me. But anyways. Will the zoom speed work with presets? Either zooms happen at full speed in preset. Earlier, zooms happen at full speed in preset. That's something that I have to test because I don't know. What's going on, Bugsy? Yeah, the zoom speeds should get depending on how you're saving the presets on board camera or PTZ only. That now PTZ only, it's probably still that zoom speed selection. So if we go back to this, if you're doing zoom speeds are probably saved here because when you switch between superfine and standard, 7 never changes. So this is probably, if you're saving a camera preset, or actually, sorry, if you're saving any preset, this is probably the speed that it's recording. I don't know for sure, but I highly suspect, because that's the only place to change the zoom speed anyways. So I highly suspect that's what's going on. Netflix requirements. Brink thinks. Appreciate this, man. Where are you? You're over on Twitch. All right, I just want to peek at these because I remember ages ago when I was doing this Wi-Fi stuff. So, I was right. Yeah, boy. Share this tab. So this is, thank you, Frank. This is the Netflix. So high def HD, which is not 720p. I guess it is. It's 3 megs. Full high def, it's 1080p, which is what most people were streaming at 6 years ago, is 5 megs. We actually found that to be closer to 6 or 7. And then Ultra HD, 15 megs. I think that is pretty close, like pretty accurate. 15 megs is probably about right for streaming Netflix. So all that to say, Wi-Fi 5 is probably okay for HX2, probably, but I don't know. I can't tell you for sure. So, because I don't have one. I would love to test it and verify for you because that's one of the things that I do with networks. But I actually physically don't have an X120 yet. Don't worry. It's been promised to me. Today's show is not brought to you by Ember Mugs. Keep your coffee hot and your creamer curdled. If there's anyone from Ember that is actually stumbling upon this show because I continually reference you, sponsorship would be amazing. You know, actually the battery in this cup is good for about an hour, and it's only going at 120 degrees. I think the battery is running on its last legs. But the cup itself, I do love the all black, you know, with the little light on the bottom, and I think the white light is, there you go. There, so it's green, BirdDog green. Oh, and now it's back to white. Never mind. But I can't say enough good things about Ember Mugs, and I know that my buddy Jeremy Kloosterman, he's had a mug give up on him, and they took care of him. They were good to him. So so far all signs point to yes, a big fan of that. Good stuff. Good stuff. Core asks, the pan tilt speed is in the camera control section. Yeah, so over in cam control, pan tilt speed is listed there. I'm sorry, let me share this. Oh, why did I close that tab? So here we go. So over in the cam control section, on the left-hand side says cam control, and then you click on camera control at the top. And here, yeah, it has that pan tilt speed. These are thresholds, by the way. These are maximums. If you are, if you are saving presets with PTZ only, you can save the preset speed specifically for that preset. So if I save preset 1, it would save it at speed 10. That's the idea. I haven't rigorously tested this, but that is the idea. That's kind of what it is that they, how they're seeing that work in real life. Netgear would be amazing. What's going on, Matt? How are you? Hopefully you're doing well. Thanks for stopping by today. I can't officially say that we are talking with them or not. I don't know, but I do know that the name has been tossed past me before. I have a great working relationship with Netgear. I don't know how many switches my recommendations may have sold or my team, but we don't want any sort of compensation for that as of today. But we definitely we believe in that product line because they are investing in the NDI infrastructure, and that is huge. It's huge to have a networking company that's like, yeah, we're all in, because that takes us to another level in terms of integration and the availability of NDI across the not just across your network, but across the world. Some people scoff at Netgear. That comes from an older age where Netgear was Soho, really tiny installations. They weren't super serious, considered serious when you talked about networking. But anymore, quite frankly, in the AV realm, they are the conversation because they are the ones that are investing in it. And they have an amazing team. Guys like John Hinkle, guys like, their dev team. If you can't, I'll do them a solid too. If you have questions about the Netgear AV line of switches, hit up this email address, because they have a great team. They support the product line. They support the NDI line. If you buy a product, you can contact them and they answer, which is amazing. One of those rare things they have to say now is if you contact their support team, they actually answer. It's a shame that that's a real thing that I have to do, but there you go. And they're genuinely good guys. So good times, great oldies. All right, I need to... Going to the preset is fine. After recalling, the joystick moves very slowly until you touch the zoom. Oh, interesting. Okay, that I will test and report on if I can find more. It's consistent across my A2s and my A4s, both on 9.3. Very interesting. What's going on, Josh? How are you? Most definitely Wi-Fi 5. Josh would know. Josh was at NAB. Yeah, I mean, given the statistics of what HX2 needs, NDI 5 would be fine. I can't say for Wi-Fi 5. Can't say it for HX3 because it's a variable bit rate, right? You can change it. And so your results may vary. That's kind of as defined as I can get as of right now. I would love to, I would love to do some real world testing though, as to let's turn it up and see what happens, because I can watch the back end of the network and see kind of the taxation on the network as well. So that would be a fun little experiment. When I'm bored and I got nothing to do, nobody has any support tickets and the questions, everything's just humming along. And obviously I'm joking. There's never been a day in my life at this company where there's nothing to do. But one day we might have the need to prioritize that test, and when that day comes, I will gladly volunteer to do it. Proposing an environment of maximum stability for streaming. There's an option to have some type of, quote, buffer in case of micro cuts in the Wi-Fi. It would be an interesting idea to add. Well, there are certain industries where the Wi-Fi thing is going to play an important role. And there are a lot of industries where the Wi-Fi thing is not going to play an important role. And so you may just want an HX3 camera with BirdDog performance. That's, I think, the real golden nugget here is this is a BirdDog camera that's doing HX3 with our engineering and dev team behind it. And so that's big. That's a big piece. The Wi-Fi piece, that's also an option. I think it fulfills the need in certain markets, and it's a a cool idea. I don't know if it's for everybody. I don't know if it's going to revolutionize the industry as to how it is that we transmit NDI. Just because I've worked in the Wi-Fi realm for a long time, and it has its pros and cons, and I don't know if the pros will outweigh the cons in this regard. But for the run and gun guys, for those, put a battery pack on the back of this X120 and then set it out and then go and get it again. I mean, it's extremely mobile. Whether you want a PTZ to be extremely mobile, I don't know. You might. I would be very interested in talking to you about your projected plans if you need that. And in exchange for the performance of a full NDI camera, for that matter. So if you had a choice between like a P120 and an X120, you know, what are your deciding factors? So it'd be great to see some real world, like for example, here is the type of setup that I need, and I need the flexibility of Wi-Fi because I'm going to put this thing in a spot that can get just fine Wi-Fi signal, but running a cable there is not practical, and the latency thing is not a big deal for me because I'm doing everything in post. I'm just recording everything, and so I need to bring it all in. Like, if that's the case, by all means, man, the X120 is probably the answer, and really excited about what people are going to do with it. Whether it outperforms anybody else in the fleet, I don't know. I mean, the 240 is still the jam, you know, that thing. The 240 is so cool, and just what it can do, especially light variances, low light situations. It's kind of worth the sacrifice of having to plug it in because to like a PoE switch and having a proper infrastructure, just because I feel like the performance of it gives me the benefits that I would really prefer. But again, I don't have line of sight to all of the things out there in the world that will benefit from having this no cable connectivity that I can run for a couple of hours on a battery, and we're good. You know, like we can send over the signal. We're still getting BirdDog quality. We're getting an HX2 signal, and that's what we need for this spot. And that would be fun to watch that conversation. It will be fun to watch that conversation evolve over the next couple of years, which is how long it takes normally. So to reproduce my issue, I save a preset, move the camera away from it, recall the preset, and then move the joystick over. The preset set to superfine. Touch the zoom. The PTZ speed will change. I'm going to have one of the guys in the office check that, because I think I've heard them talking about that, and so you may already have that confirmed. Sorry here. Let me just... Sorry, I missed something from Facebook. Oh, here it is. Okay, good. From my experience, zoom speeds are at the fastest by default when switching presets. That was my experience before they introduced the superfine stuff, and now I don't know, so I need to go down there. I gotta love it. I got the P100 back, and then I had to resend it back due to having weird lines showing up. That is weird. Is it here in the office? Or is it on its way? Trying to have a slow zoom shot with a preset on P120. No success until now. So you have had success, or you're still trying? Yeah, what you're describing is camera director moving from point A to point B on a path and a speed specific sequence. That's what you're referencing, which is a program we have, but it's not just done on preset recalls. That will definitely be a managed. Will definitely be you'll have to manufacture that somehow, probably outside of the basic options that are offered on the preset recall. It's not showing different versions. Still up on to 21. Sorry, you meant the app, not the camera itself. This was a part of a conversation that I can't recall. I'm really sorry. Were you at NAB? If so, did you discover some interesting accessories for our PTZ cameras? I did not get to go to NAB. there are a couple of guys on this chat that did, but the sales team was over at NAB this year. They had a pared down crew at the booth and a pared down booth this year, but they had some things to show. Fleet Manager, which is something, geez, we need to get to here, right? And the X120, which is pretty exciting, and a few other things that we'll talk about. Hoping to have a couple of guys in on the show in the next few shows to talk about some of those other options who were at the show. So we'll sort that out. But I wasn't there. I missed an opportunity to meet up with some of you who have mentioned you were there and you were looking for me, but also some folks that I know in the industry. I've known for a few years and have been good to me, and I always like to go and shake their hand and see them. Unfortunately, I wasn't slated to be there this year, so maybe next time. We'll see. Yes, it is. I use 8 of them with my production. I'm setting up my P200s. Are you up for some dropped frame troubleshooting? Like right now? I do want to get to Fleet Manager, so let me get to Fleet Manager before we do more on the show troubleshooting. My P240 with Silicon 2 is already on an HX3 camera. It's true. That 240 is a little more expensive than the X120, right? And you get full and HX3 on that camera, so that I love. The Silicon 2 beta does output HX, and it works in tandem, so it's pretty cool for flexibility. Wire the camera if you can wire it. In some cases, wireless unlocks some interesting use cases. It's true. I would, like in the middle of the field. Yes, there are opportunities. Like again, with wireless, your results may vary. That's all I'm saying is I would rather hardline it and do a wireless bridge, a point-to-point, because yes, then you're still wireless. You require a little more hardware, but it is probably more reliable in the wireless realm. It's not true Wi-Fi 5 or 6, but it's all good. The P120 for me, wired all the way. Everybody's going to have their preferences. It's all good. We haven't seen the use cases yet because I say this all the time, we design products, right? And we have this vision as to how we think they're going to work. And then people come out of the woodwork with, oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm doing this. And it's like, man, we had no idea that these sort of opportunities were in play, and people use their imaginations, man, put them in cool places and get really, really interesting shots. My use case for a fully wireless battery PTZ camera would be in the end zones at a football game. It's true. That would be a great place for it, as long as you have it protected somehow, not like on a tripod. You could, well, anyway, I won't get into that. Bugsy, yes, it's at the office. Is BirdDog planning on a BirdDog NDI HX Wi-Fi encoder decoder in addition to the Flex series? No, not that I know of. And if I did know of it, there would be no way I could tell you about it. So I haven't heard of that being tossed around, full disclosure, but nothing's off the table. The dev team and the R&D guys and the inventors of this company have surprised me over and over and over again with what they've come up with. So I have no idea, but I don't know of anything like that. Did the latest update, fixed it. Boom. Love it when I hear that. To get the slow zoom, I have programmed a macro on my Stream Deck with a zoom range that talks to TriCaster. I can hit the button, get that zoom on any shot. Maybe an option for you. That's a great idea. I will give that a try. I don't believe that there are plans for Wi-Fi HX encoders. So what's going on, Josh? We do have lots of others on the table instead. It's true. There are lots of things on the table, but never say never. I have learned that multiple times. The same P100 that firmware mess up. Then we got it back and having issues on the lines popping in and out of the video stream, and that's why we sent it back in. Clarifying on the preset recall, say there is no pan tilt happening and the preset just zoom in and out. There's no way that zoom speeds are controllable. Oh, I see. Interesting. So you're just using the same position but different zooms. Okay. And you're trying to recall zoom speeds. I'll have to monkey around that for you. See if I can come up with some sort of solution. But I do know that is the function of Camera Director. Isn't, of course, everybody's cup of tea, but it is out there as an option. Okay, Let us get into Fleet Manager, because that was the title of today's show, and I have spent almost an hour not talking about this. So, and full disclosure, I've played around with this a little bit. I have the copy that was over at NAB, and truthfully, this is not the final version. And so the irons are in the fire. It is functional. It does most of the stuff that it's supposed to do. But I want to show you the interface, and I want to show you how that actually works. And so we're going to switch over here and show, oh, my sound effects are off. It's going to show you what's going on here. One moment, please. There it is. Okay, so let's try that again. Oh, that didn't work either. Bummer. Let's try that one more time. Okay, so you can't see because my head is in the way, but I do have a little icon here on my desktop. It does have the same, I'll caution you, it is going to require you to run this as admin for the time being. We are looking into that because obviously not everybody is an admin on their computer. It is kind of assumed that you control and own the computer that you're installing BirdDog products on. So we do recommend that you, if you're going to install a BirdDog software, that you own the computer that you're putting it on, so that you can have full rights and that you don't have to worry about GPOs and a bunch of other things that are going on behind the scenes with Active Directory and IT departments controlling stuff. It gets very complicated very fast. So do me a favor, own the computer you're testing this on, see if it works. Amber Mugs. So let's go ahead and launch this. Now it's going to gray out my screen real quick. And I will say, yes, this application. All right, one moment, please. Yoink. Monkeying around with things this morning. And I need to just fix some of that. All right, so it's going to ask me for admin permissions, and I'm going to say yes. Now, the first thing it's going to do, which I think is really cool, is it's going to ask you, oh no, I can't show this? Oh, that's annoying. It's going to ask you what network you want to function this on, which is a feature that I hope that they integrate in all of our products, by the way. It's basically just a little window. I'm sorry I can't show you this. It's stuck on my dialogue. The dialogue box is stuck on the wrong screen. Basically says, Network Finder, which adapter do you want to use? So I select my NDI network, the fiber network that I have, and it spits back what my IP address is. So it's saying you want to use this, and if I hit OK, it will then proceed to launch Fleet Manager. Now, it looks like this. Oops. And Fleet Manager runs on its own, and you just leave it, and it starts populating. And again, this is not the final version, but this is pretty close to what it's going to look like. And it starts populating all of the sources that are on your network. Now, I have multiple networks at this office, so if you think, what's wrong with that guy? He's only got 2 or 3 actual sources. That's not entirely true. I have lots of sources. It's just a matter of where are they. Now, these are BirdDog products as well. This is not Studio Monitor. We're not looking for NDI sources from other cameras. This is BirdDog stuff. This is managing. This is why you buy a BirdDog product and why you use BirdDog for your NDI encoders and decoders, because you're going to get amazing software that will help you manage and function as a human being without pulling out the remainder of your hair that you still have somehow working in the IT world. So Fleet Manager spits out a bunch of information, and as we can see, it tells us what model the product is, tells us the device name that we have assigned it or haven't assigned it for many of this, gives us the serial number so you can match that to the bottom of the product, gives you what network configuration, and like a good support guy, I have everything in DHCP, gives you the IP addresses of those. I kid. I know it's a sore spot for some people. It gives us all the IP information, the proper subnet mask. It tells us exactly what it's supposed to be, which is 22255. Gives us our network gateway. Now, some of this is because some of these softwares are not on the ones that talk with Fleet Manager. So Fleet Manager has found these sources, but they're not running on the absolute end result that will integrate with Fleet Manager. And a great example here is the OG card that's on this network. I have an OG4. It's running on 110, which is one of the latest, well, it's an alpha software right now, but 110 is an LTS alpha software that isn't, oh, maybe it's on the website now. It might be on the website now. I know that there's a beta for this. I just may not have put it on this card yet. But as you can see, some of the data is missing, including the network gateway. Well, it just means that some of the products haven't been updated to talk and communicate all their data back to Fleet Manager. So it gives us the gateway, gives us the MICU version, and as you see, they're all lit up, and of course, all of the firmware versions as well. Now, in this model of this software, you'll notice there's some differences with the commercial that we showed at the beginning, and I'll show it again at the end of the show. But there are some differences with what it shows in the commercial and what it shows here. The first is the select all update button. Okay, that's not on here. But you can go down the line and actually check these boxes. Now, in this version, you can't actually check these boxes, and there's a reason for that. Again, this was the one that we had at the show. But you would select the boxes on the firmware update and then hit apply. The idea here is that this software will communicate with an FTP server and will allow you to see which firmware you're currently using and then which firmware is currently available. No more going to the website and downloading zip files and doing USB updates and all of that crap. That is behind us. We have seriously been talking about what we can do here for our customers. And the reason, again, one of the catalyst reasons why you pick a BirdDog product is this sort of stuff, this level of invention that, quite frankly, nobody else is doing. This is purely, it's mostly for me, I'll put it out there, but this is purely for the customer's benefit, where it's a free piece of software. You download it, you can see all the sources that are broadcasted on the MDNS, and it pulls the discovery data. We're talking about a few other options as to, like, well, discovery, how is that actually done? Are we doing this over IPv4? Maybe IPv6 is an option. Maybe there's a proprietary broadcast that could go out that Fleet Manager could be watching for. A bunch of stuff, okay? So this, though, is such a beautiful thing because you get all of your data in one spot. And if I were to think about all the devices that are on my network, on the, let's say, the one network, which is what this is, and I was to say, this afternoon I'm going to update all of my cameras and encoders and decoders, there would be no way for me to guarantee that I got them all. Anything that's on the network. This eliminates that problem. This is basically saying, no worries, let us find all the devices. Now, we have installations that have 10, 20, 30, 100 devices all running. The idea here is it's all centralized, that an installer no longer has to, oh, we're having a problem with the camera, it's out of date, we want to use it with cam control, it's not working. Now the guy can remote in, install this, find the camera, hit update, hit apply, exit the remote, walk away, send the bill. That is the idea, right? So for those of you who are managing larger fleets of NDI stuff and you're contemplating, I want to buy more NDI gear, where should I go? This is one of the things that is only offered at BirdDog. And BirdDog is thinking, how do we make this make sense for the customer? And how do we make it easier for support? And that is the reason why I'm super excited about this. Okay, full disclosure, I am thrilled because we can send out videos or tutorials, or I can remote in and open this program and basically do it all for them. But it's a simple little Windows program. There's not a Mac version yet, so I know that question's coming. Let's go ahead and erase that one. But yes, that is the deal. Now, someone will say, I noticed that all your cameras are out of date. That's not actually true. This is a floor model from NAB that I had the project manager send me. And this is set up the way that it is to show you what the notifications would look like if you are out of date. But this one is not linked to the FTP server, which they're currently working on. And so I can't pull the updates down in real time. When that becomes a thing, you can bet your buttons that I will 100%, that's not a phrase, that I will 100% be showing that on this show, because it is a answer to prayer. I kid you not. Make the update process easy, and the engineers, I've been banging that drum for 4 years. All my agents have been saying that ever since they started. They've been here for the oldest ones have been here for a couple of years now. We got to make this better. We got to make this more intuitive for the customer, because it's killing us. And engineering showed up. I mean, they did exactly that. They heard our pleas for something better, and they delivered. And honestly, this is crazy exciting, because I'm very excited that this is what this is the avenue that we're headed down. So, a couple more things here that I will show you. You've noticed that the BirdDog Play actually stepped off of the network. Now, this is Play 1. This is actually the play that I'm looking at, so I don't know what the deal is with the status light here. I will investigate that. Again, this is a floor model. This isn't a finished product, but it does show that it is currently offline. It is not. Now, it may be that it hasn't checked in terms of the broadcast hasn't gone out, since we are sitting in DHCP. Maybe that it hasn't checked in. But I do know that you are able to edit things, names. We're not gonna monkey with that today, again, just because this is the proof of concept that it is actually a functioning thing. But there it is. I mean, we have models. Honestly, I would love to be able to pick and choose which columns are shown, because some of the stuff, subnet mask, I know what my subnet is. I don't need to verify that. Quite honestly, I don't even care about the network gateway. I know that all my stuff is going to be running in DHCP, but that's nice to have. Serial numbers, that doesn't mean a whole lot to me, but this means the world, and this is important. And these little gearboxes, by the way, you click on one of those, okay? If we actually click on that gearbox, where are we here? Oh yeah, there we go. So you click on that gearbox, and it does what you think it's going to do. It takes you to that web UI, and whoops, I clicked on it multiple times. This is not going to be good. Let's close that down, see if it boots up. It opens the web UI for the unit. So that is crazy exciting. I don't know why it keeps opening multiples, but and it dumped me to a page. This is the play, right? So, well, I'm going to put this over here and see if it actually ever comes up. That's more of a networking issue than it is play and play. Oh, that's not. Is that right? That's not right. Let me see here. 35. Maybe I messed things up when I started sorting here. Anyway, we'll figure that out. There's another piece here. Oh, whoops, I did this by accident. I meant to do this and tell you about it. There is a little information box that's next to the product type, and this is basically the dashboard of the device. So it tells us what the stream name is. It tells us what video format we're running in. Gives us all the basic data that's on that web UI. Now, again, these cameras are not running necessarily the Fleet Manager version of the firmware, which, here comes the question. I know it is, but will it be required to do a firmware update to get to the to get it to talk to Fleet Manager? And the honest answer is I don't quite know. More than likely, whether or not that that update can be done within Fleet Manager to get it to the latest, I don't know. You're seeing it here, though. Many of these are beta firmwares. You'll notice like 9.9 on an A200. That's something I'm testing, and 9.9 is a beta. So those are showing up here, just no issues. And if your MICU's on the latest, then we should be able to just push a firmware, like an actual FW file, to get you to this level, and then we'll be able to do the full-on updates. So I can't believe that this is real. From a support standpoint, this is one of those things that is such a huge step forward. It's a huge answer to things that support has been saying, but it's an enormous step forward for customers. It's a massive reason seriously a massive reason. You don't even know a massive reason why installers would go with BirdDog and not something else, because now it's a centralized managed location for all firmware updates. We can get to every product. We can pull it. We can click on the gearbox. We can check their statuses. We can do all of that stuff. And those installers, like sometimes they have reoccurring contracts or maintenance contracts, right? Where, okay, we're going to install this in all of your classrooms. But then once a quarter, we're going to come by and make sure everything's humming along and working correctly. And we'll swap out devices or do whatever that we need to do once a quarter. Well, now they can roll up an open Fleet Manager and within 10 minutes, make sure everything's up to date. One of the pipe dreams I'm hoping is that it does sequenced updates, not all updates all at once, because you can really mess up your internet if you do that, but to do like 3 updates at the same time. And then when one is done, go to the next one. Similar to, what system does that? Shoot, what is it? There's something that does that where it does like 3 updates and it moves on to the next one once the first one's, phone application updaters. So it has a bandwidth restriction, right? And it says like update 1 at a time or update 3 at a time. It never says update all at a time. It does it 3, and then when 1 is done, then it goes to the next one. And that's the same idea that I hope that we adapt here is when I click update, I hope it picks the top 3, or it picks 3 and then it pauses the rest. And then when 1 gets done, it goes to the next one. I don't know if we're at that level of sophistication yet, but that's one of my, if not at launch, then second iteration of the firmware. That would be amazing to have that option. But seriously, one last thing that we should talk about is this big giant advanced button that people are probably asking about, have asked about. This is basically the revamp of what you lovingly known as Neuralizer, but it gives you the option to directly connect to a computer and then boot up, and it's a simple walk through on your own where we can recover a device or we can reimage a device. And this is such a huge deal, because to have the ability to reimage a camera without you needing to touch base with support is going to save you a lot of time, and quite frankly, save my guys a lot of time. A lot of this comes down to one of the major ticket creation items, and here you only find this out here on the support show. One of the major ticket creation items here at BirdDog is the firmware stuff, is like how often we have to update and how often that doesn't go perfectly. And so we've asked for a simplified version, and they have gone back to the drawing board multiple times to get it to the phase that we're currently at. And so kudos to the engineering team for rethinking and reimagining what the update process needs to be. And that also means that they've had to go to the OEM, to Bolin, and make arrangements with them to make their firmware update stuff way more accessible too. So the MICU updates and all that sort of thing. We've all been having to work together to make this a better experience, and this will be so much better. I mean, even if you can click the box and hit update and it just does 1, so much better than what it used to be. And hopefully Fleet Manager will help us manage our BirdDog product lines a whole lot nicer, easier. We can, like I said, what I'm excited about is doing tutorial videos on this, or having the PMs do them, and having those available for people just to watch and have basically a full understanding of how Fleet Manager works within 5 minutes. So then, that's what that does. That's what that button does. That's what that box is for. Boom, 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 boom. Go down the line of all the features. And then now you're ready. Now, so install Fleet Manager and off you go. And I think that will be a huge game changer for a lot of people. So I'm really excited about Fleet Manager. I think it's an absolute step in the right direction. I think that the guys over in Melbourne knocked it out of the park, especially with this just being the first attempt. It's going to help customers night and day figure this out. So I'm really excited about that. I need this so badly. We all do. And it's coming soon. So we're 1 week after NAB, so we're 5 weeks down. We're 5 weeks to go. Does the discovery happen using normal NDI processes? Specifically, can this manage any device registered in Discovery Server regardless of a subnet? That's a great question. The integration of Access Manager will be scrutinized on this, because Discovery Server obviously is a major game changer when you're talking about large networks and you're talking about keeping traffic low and relevant and whatever. I don't know, honestly, NetHab. I don't know if I don't know about the discovery process for this, especially as it associates with Discovery Server. I'm hoping that it just references Access Manager, and if Access Manager is registered to DS, then it's easy peasy. But not limited to. I've also heard rumors that this might be able to see broadcast packets in other subnets, not VLANs, but subnets. Have yet to test that. So 9.9, is that a beta? Yes. 110 is live on the website for the OG card. Thank you, Frank. See, it's always good to have some fact checkers, even if they work for you. Can you replicate the same without TriCaster talking directly to? Can I replicate the same? I could. I mean, I could set it up on our TriCast. TriCaster's in the other room, so I can't do it right now. But yeah, we could definitely do that. So helpful, Fleet Manager, just to find all the things. Seriously, just to have them at your finger. That's what I love about it, right? Is like when you're looking at this. Whoops, it's over my face. When you're looking at this, it just has all of the relevant information right here. You know, like we're not changing the camera's or video format or any of that stuff, but like the fundamentals of getting into the product and doing things correctly, and it's going to be so great to have this stuff just so close and referenced. So I'm super excited. I think Fleet Manager is a great addition to the BirdDog family, and I think that's one of the reasons why you pick a BirdDog over other products, is that the ease of managing it, the ease of using it, the high quality of the product, high quality image, all that stuff really makes a big difference. So Fleet Manager is going to be a game changer like Engage is for the 4250s. I've used Engage. I like it. It is helpful. It's not perfect, but it's also their first iteration of it, and so I got to give them some room to grow and listen to feedback and amend it. And honestly, I haven't used it in about 2 months. So they may have made huge strides to fixing the things that I was kind of like, that's a little clunky. For setting up switches across a fleet, it's great. Brilliant. Because you set it up once and then you apply the settings to everything. Oh, that would have helped me out so much at NAB last year. So, and I was like, it's going to be great for NAB this year. Oh, and then I didn't go. So, but somebody said something kind to me within the company. They said, this year we didn't have the luxury of John coming and helping us with our network, and so we've just had to make do with what we've had. And I was like, I don't know if that was meant as a compliment or not, but I'm going to take it. That was nice. That was a nice thing for somebody to say. Oh man, hot coffee. It's good stuff. Oh, great. I will see all the missed updates now. It's true. All the ones that didn't get updated, and hopefully you can do them all in a centralized location. So very excited. Balu, who does a lot of this and runs his own tech bench because he does inspections, this is going to be great for him because it means no more guessing. There's so much guesswork in what he has to do. It's going to speed things up. Matter of fact, Balu, because you work here, you should grab this and just install it on the 3 and see what happens. It might speed you up, just even having the reference of what the product is and what status it's in. Let's give that a try. Let's try that this week and see how it works for you. I think it's going to be great. And then I'll report back next week about how that's going for him. Are 9394 the same MICU versions? That is a question that has been pushed out of my mind a long time ago. 9.4 depends on, so I have an A2 and an A3. So I have 23 on, I think it's that one. Yeah, on that A200, I've got board 23 for a 9.4, but then the 9 or the A4, A5 version, I don't know what one that is. And the guy that could tell us is Brayton. Or Frink. Frink might know that too. You still have to do the USB updates for the baseboard even though we have Fleet Manager for PTZ keyboards? No. So the idea of going to NDI 5 was that the MICUs were going to be done. And only on the rare occasion may you have to do a baseboard update to fix an error, like a boot sequence error or something. But the idea was the USB updates were going away. And that was getting us to LTS. That's what the LTS update was. And then going to NDI 5, that should have been the last USB update that you needed to do. Because this Fleet Manager now does the MICUs and the device firmware. Again, that's the commercial says we've listened, and that's exactly what they're referencing is the USB thing. Oh, brutal, right? So they've been trying to make that user experience because, like I said, that is one of the leading ticket generators is the USB update process. Actually, the update process in general has been the lead ticket generator, one of them, in the company over the past 5 years that I've been here. And so, 4.5 years that I've been here. So we were saying that, customers were saying that, distributors were saying that, retailers, installers, everybody was feeding us back with, it's great, except you're coming out with a lot of updates and they're really like hard to make sure that you do it correctly. And so they took that seriously, which is great. I'm updating right now. It's so scary with many devices. This is a game changer. I can't wait for this. I would agree with you. I can't wait for it either. I can't wait for it to show up. And Laura, I can't wait for it to show up and you guys to get to use it because everything's humming along with that FTP. It's going to be pretty exciting to just click, and it does it, right? So version 1 does not have Discovery Server support, though it's prioritized. Okay, there you go. I mean, Discovery Server should be integrated in everything because lots of people are using it, especially large installs, which is who this will benefit the most. Thinking of a project that I am working on in Florida for on behalf of BirdDog. They have tons of Play devices, and those Plays, if you had to do an update, you certainly don't want to log into all 80 of them. You want to pull this up and say, select all, update, and then it could just go down the list and do the update and finish and go to the next one. That would be a song. Such a huge deal. Going on GoWeb suggestion. Have a BirdDog control room app, just like NDI Tools, from where users have access to all BirdDog apps under one umbrella. Easy to find access. That's a great idea. No comment. That has been talked about. I'll put it that way. That's been talked about. It will not see broadcast packets across subnets unless there's a switch forwarding them. I heard from the PMs that it should find it on other subnets, but I guess I was wrong. That's unfortunate. Absolutely sounds like a compliment to me. Yes, I agree. That's from a networking standpoint. It was a kind thing to say regardless. Fleet Manager is like a nanny for all my BirdDog cams. Just take care of them for me, will you? Oh, most definitely. Yes, let's get that installed, man. I'll get you the file. I just updated both my A2s and 4s to 9.4, and I seem to have control over both without having done the MICU update yet. Boom. There you go. MICU stays the same for all cameras except for the 400 and the P4K. Silicone 2 required for a MICU update, didn't it? Silicone 2 was required for, again, that's a Frink question. Was a MICU? No, I thought you had to be on the latest. You had to be on 9.4, and then you could do Silicone 2. I don't think that a MICU was required. 9.3 and 9.4 without having done the USB update, it's working fine. Boom. Still see drop frames, though. Boo. That sucks. Sounds like a user error. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. With sensible icons. Yeah, no comment. That launcher page is a great idea. Hey, you don't want to steal other companies' ideas, right? But we're getting to the point where we have so many products that you might need a launcher page eventually. There have been conversations, just a way of like managing all the BirdDog software and picking and choosing the ones that you want. Yeah, there have been conversations about that. So I don't know if anything's come of it, but it's a great suggestion, and I will pass it up the chain that was discussed on my show and is a desirable item from our clients, because I actually do give people feedback from my show within the company. So suggestions, all that stuff, it all makes a big difference. So, oh yeah. Hang on. You guys remember this? Remember me? This was me being bored one day on the show, and not bored. I was being goofy, and I put my head in the coffee, which I thought was funny. Anyway, back to the show. Uh, I just looked over and saw it. It's funny. Yes, the MICU needs to be updated Silicon 2. Once you're on the newest MICU, you're good to go. So yeah, as long as you're updated to 9.4, the MICU for 9.4, then you should be able to go Silicon 2. I believe that Frank says it's required to at least going to 8 and 9, I believe. I do know that the Silicon 2 one that's on there references 9.4 because I think that that's the latest available, but I could be wrong. I don't sit on the website and scrutinize all the firmware numbers. Contrary to popular belief, that's not what I'm functionally doing around here. What would you say that you do here? What is going on here? I'm getting all sorts of messages. Awesome. Alrighty. Hey, I made it to the end of the chat. That's unheard of, and it's 12:30. You guys have been buzzing today in the chat, which I love. Thank you so much for participating. It's always a blast, and it's always great to have a bunch of people here from all over the place. I know we had a gentleman from Zimbabwe, and we had people from Amsterdam. We had somebody from Australia, all over the States, Canada, a couple of representations from Canada. Always good. It's always great to have you guys here, and thank you so much for coming together and having a chat. It's always fun. I was told that I could listen to the radio quietly in my office. They took my stand. I was told I could listen to my radio in the office. Good stuff. It's my best impression I could possibly do. All right. I'm going to close down some of these tabs that I don't need. And pretty quiet all of a sudden. As if I've been like disconnected or something from the outside world. It's always a pleasure, guys. Thank you so much for coming along for today's ride. Fleet Manager, it is an exciting time to be in the BirdDog community, in the NDI world. Seriously, we are not attempting to make things difficult. We actually want you to really enjoy what it is that you, how you interact with your products. And I think Fleet Manager is a great example of BirdDog trying to answer the call for the way that people use our product line, because, there are, that's interesting. Anyways, sorry, my brain. There are lots of ways to skin a cat, and when you have 3 cameras and a keyboard, logging into 3 web UIs is kind of, it's annoying, but it's no big deal. When you have 100 devices, that's a different world, and so you don't want to be doing that. I promise you, I've been there. You don't want to be updating a fleet when every new firmware comes out, and so typically you would take a Friday afternoon or a Friday morning and you'd update the entire fleet and be ready to go for Monday. This program, Fleet Manager, is the way to do that, is the way to do scheduled updates. Oh, wouldn't that be sweet? Have this run in the background to do scheduled updates every Friday at 9 a.m. Don't hit update and walk away from them for the weekend, because if anything happens, you want to be there to see it. But seriously, maybe the next suggestion is there a way that we could run the program in the background indefinitely and say auto update every morning at 9 a.m. or auto update once a week at 9 a.m. or something like that? Now I'm just spitballing, and I'm sure the engineers are like, shut up, John. So, but yeah, it'd be really cool to have options. And this is just our first stab at this. And quite frankly, I think that they killed it when they came out with this. This isn't even 1.0. This is pre 1.0. So this isn't the final product that we've been looking at today, but it seriously is such a huge leap forward. And like I said, kudos, guys, to the engineering team, to the dev team, to the project managers, everybody that had to go through the sleepless nights to make this a reality, because this will revolutionize the way that our clients interact with their products. And I have a diverse fleet of products on my network, right? I've got an OG card. I've got a BirdDog P4K, boom, this camera in front. I've got a 200, which is up there in the roost. I've got several P100s. I've got a P110. I've got several other P200s. I've got a PF120, and I've got a couple of BirdDog plays, and that's just the stuff that's on this network. And so I have kind of like this weird group of devices that probably you wouldn't have, but it's a diverse group. And this way, I can see everything. I can see all their firmware update. I'll see all their firmware versions, their MICU versions. I can see their IP addresses, all that stuff. And yeah, it's pretty stinking cool that is what's going on here. So huge leap forward. Really excited about the way that this is turning out. I think that if you're not excited about Fleet Manager, you haven't been interacting with BirdDog very long, because this will help greatly, especially those who are running multiple units or who are thinking of buying more. It's like, well, I had the BirdDog product for a while, but the real kicker for me is the update process. Okay, give us a chance with Fleet Manager. I think you're going to be really happy when this launches. I think you're going to be really happy with how we manage updates. No longer onesie twosies. You can do this all in a centralized location, and that's a huge deal. You can also change basic data, names, IP addresses, network status modes if you want to, configurations. You can change a few things right here in Fleet Manager, and that will be a big deal as well. So really happy about that. Really happy about the way that Fleet Manager is shaping up. I think it's huge help for you guys, a huge help for me, and I can't wait to kind of see it in action once it officially launches and we're able to, who has something like this? Unify. They've been known for ages for having a system where you can log into a portal and see all of your devices that are connected, that are all Ubiquiti devices, right? And in the top corner, it says like there are firmware updates available. Now, you can't just hit apply all. You have to do them kind of methodically a little bit, because you got to update one at a time, or else you'll lose your whole network, and downloads will quit and reboot and all that crap. So that's a similar idea, but Unify puts all of that information in one place, and that's exactly what we're doing here, is getting all the BirdDog stuff in one place. So when you're thinking about, all right, I want to expand my fleet, I want to get a second camera, I want to get a different angle, I want to get a bunch of PF120s and put them around the room, and then I'll have a couple of PTZs that do close-ups and whatever. When you're thinking that along that way, now managing them from a technical standpoint is simplified, and that's really exciting that that's an option. So all right, speech over. Hey, thank you for your oh, I'm honored that you think that was insightful. Thank you so much for coming to the show. Always a pleasure to have folks around and to chat. So feel free to stress test my P100 while it's still there. That goes into a system where the guys test and manage. So I will check it out and see what I can come up with. Can I get this soon? I got more cameras coming, and 5 plus 2 AV boxes. I have to update. Is there an early release that I can sign up for? Can I get this soon? I have 7 cameras coming, and I have 7 devices currently. It's more than likely they're going to need to update them all. Okay, so full disclosure, there may be a final update before they'll communicate with Fleet Manager. As you can see here, some of mine are not communicating fully with Fleet Manager, and so that is reality. But really hoping that this will launch sooner rather than later, but the promise is still within 5 weeks, because we announced at NAB. It's supposed to be 6 weeks after the announcement. So we've had a whole week at NAB. Now we're the Tuesday after NAB, right? And so, yeah, we're hopeful that the timeline is moving along. The guys that are in charge of that timeline are great guys, and they're working hard to execute that. And a couple of project managers that have been with BirdDog for a while, and so they're trying really hard to make sure that those are accurate and that we're really talking about it. We will support will be giving feedback on this program, because it is a support. It is a major function for support. So this will be great. We're going to give them some feedback probably this week about that, and then leave it with them to kind of produce the final product. Whether or not they do, everything on our wish list, probably won't be able to do that, but they do want to hear back from us. Dan has told us specifically we want to hear back from you guys on Fleet Manager. So some of the stuff that we've talked about today, I will be feeding back, and also giving some of my initial impressions. So ticket number, yada, yada. Okay, Bugsy, I got that. I will check that out for you. I'll talk to the guys too. They're probably familiar with the ticket. Okay. There was something else. What was it that I was gonna? So on Thursday, what do you guys want to talk about? Because I potentially might be able to find a couple of guys to join us either on Thursday or next Tuesday to talk about the Adobe announcement. Okay, and you can head over to BirdDog.tv if you don't know what I'm talking about. There's a big announcement with Adobe, and we need to probably talk with Jake and maybe somebody else to kind of go over what it is that we announced and how it works and all of that stuff. But we're really excited about that. And there were a couple other things that were announced. And so we can, is there something that you specifically would like to talk about? Do you want to talk about X120 again? Should I put that on the docket for later? Let's go here. NAB 2023, X120, Fleet Manager. So PTZ Control is an iPad app and an iPhone app that will be for sale in the App Store. So that's huge, and it kind of leans into the whole X120 Wi-Fi network stuff. So we will need to talk about that. Android TV monitor. I actually have not seen this functioning yet, but I need to be given access to it. So we will talk about that at a future date. And then just kind of a side note, but something that's kind of important is there is now a 5-year warranty on all purchases of the P and the X series as of any purchase made after March 1st of this year. So there is now a new 5-year warranty for our latest manufacturing run. That is in concordance with the manufacturer, but also with us. And it's going to help out customers as they're buying new products going forward, giving them that assurance of a 5-year warranty. So it changes things a lot for us here at Support because we have a very set, way that we interact with people when it comes to warranty. So, but that's purely, quite frankly, the customer's benefit. The reason that they change that warranty is 100% for your benefit. So really excited about that. And that is everything that's on that NAB website. Oh, no, it's not. I'm sorry. Central 2.0 Enterprise is on there, which may be something that we can include in our discussion with the Adobe stuff. Cloud 3.0, I mean, that cloud is an integration that we've talked about numerous times over and over and over, and that keeps getting more and more robust. But there will be a time that we should talk about that in greater length, and I think I'll reserve that for a different time. We've already talked about Video Wall when it was announced and the PTZ battery mount for the X120. So those are the other two announcements at the end there. We did talk about Video Wall and we did talk about the battery mount when we talked about the X120. But if you would like to talk about any of those things again, I'm all game. Let's go for it. We can chat about that. Ooh, Adobe, tell me everything. You have to come back. So it sounds like we definitely need to go with that. I'll be happy with that. Good. We have to come back and we'll have a chat about Adobe because that one is a pretty big deal about workflow and about production, but I need to get some guys on this show to help me with that conversation because that is not a workflow that I'm super familiar with, but it is something that they are super familiar with. And so I don't run Adobe in the shop. Probably should at this point because we have this new announcement, but hit up BirdDog.tv, click on the NAB 2023 announcement and go from there. All right, I am going to call it. This has been super fun. I love hanging out with you guys, and seriously, it's the best part of my week. Is I get to sit down, have a chat, be excited about BirdDog products, show you guys, what it looks like after the announcement. Of course, I don't announce products on this show, but I definitely will talk about them after the announcement. But Fleet Manager is such a stinking cool announcement that I'm really excited that I'm going to have this option, but you're going to have this option. It's going to be a free download, and you're going to be able to manage your fleet easy peasy, and you can start doing things like routine updates. This will help you configure things. It'll help you keep an eye on your network, show you kind of what's happening, and a centralized location for just basically everything BirdDog. So I love it. I can't wait for this to get in your hands. I can't wait to see the final product as to what it is that they're planning on putting in the first release. And we're going to continue to make it better, as we always do. We always try and improve on things and make it better for you and for everybody. So all good. Hopefully you have found today exciting, something fun to chat about. And thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out in the chat today. I love when you guys come along and you chat with me, and we can talk about BirdDog stuff. We can talk about tickets. We can talk about frustrations and successes and failures and all that sort of good stuff. Keep the chat going. Keep that alive. Keep coming back. I really appreciate that. I will see you on Thursday. The plan is, unless I get crazy ill like I did last week, please plan to come back on Thursday, 11 o'clock Eastern time, same place. BirdDogJohn.tv is the place to be. BirdDogJohn.tv. If you wouldn't mind, if you would subscribe to that channel, that is my YouTube channel here as the BirdDog John employee. If you would subscribe to that, we are well over 200 subscribers now on that channel. 212, which is, that number has grown quickly over the past 2 weeks, which is really exciting. So thank you, everybody, for doing that. BirdDogJohn.tv, that is where I am. Everything that I do support-wise is shown on that channel. So be sure to hit us up there, and we will, you can subscribe, you can hit the bell if you like YouTube notifications, if you have that configured for your phone or whatever. Then you don't have to rely on social media to show up, at the right time or put it on your calendar or anything like that. You can just get a notification. It's a pretty easy way to do that. So, okay, folks, be well. Take care of yourselves. That's super important. I need to do that better last week, and I failed at that miserably. But take care of yourselves and take care of each other. There's not enough of that going on in this world, and we really need to look out for each other. So feel free to come here and we'll chat with you. You're definitely welcome around this table, and we will see you again on Thursday at 11 o'clock Eastern time, at least for an hour, and we'll have a good chat about something. Don't know yet. Keep your eyes to the YouTube page. Whenever I figure that out, I'll schedule it and announce it up there. Okay, guys? Take care of yourselves. Really appreciate you coming along. Bye.
Resistance is futile.